When I was 18 years old in high school in Singapore, I devoured all these American self-help books. And I was all about making myself a better person, from running faster to eating healthier to thinking more positively. That was just like my whole life. And so when I came to America, I was set to make the most out of my experiences. And what that meant here is to manage time efficiently and to become uber productive. And how do you do that? Well, you first have to start by knowing your time, because what gets measured gets managed, right? And so I have been religiously tracking my time using a notebook in my pockets. But for a while, I just realized that it's really, really tedious, and there must be a better way to do it. So one day in my sophomore 4 years, I found out an app on my phone that will allow me to track my time just using 3 simple steps. First, you press the icon. Second, you press the button. And then third, you lock the time. And that's it. And better yet, at the end of the day, it will automatically produce graphs, colorful graphs of my day. And as you can tell, I was so pumped. The first few weeks, I aggressively analyzed my data so that I can optimize my behaviors. At first I started tracking in 30 minutes to an hour, and then I got really greedy. What if I go more granularly to the minutes? And so my time log will look something like this. 4:15, I'll be snacking. 4:20, I'll be doing push-up. And 4:23, I'll open the door for my housemate and I will socialize with them. And 4:30, I would back to doing homework. And 4:40, I'll be distracted, I'll snack again. And 4:50, I'll be back to work. And then 5:10, I'm so fed up, I'm gonna quit. It was real, and it was really fun. I felt like I was more aware of my time, and I was making progress. And at the end of the day, I look at the graph, these colorful pie charts, and I just I can shave a minute here, and I put a minute over there. I could eat less time, and then socialize less, read more. It was really neat. And then after about a year, and maybe more than 4,000 minutes of doing push-up, a lot, yes. And I just started to realize that something is going strange. It wasn't pleasant at all. I felt like I was just enjoying it because it made me feel smart, but I'm not really doing anything to change my behavior. And if people get addicted to TV or social media or food like that, I got addicted to tracking data, and it was really addictive. I felt like I had a self-imposed ADHD of some sort. I would just be so obsessed with my time performance that I could barely concentrate on anything. And it felt like when you cook rice and then every minute you open the lids to check whether it's working. I was like that, and it was nuts. And it was so addictive, I couldn't quit. It felt like anytime I pull out my phone, it felt like I just ate another sugar candy and then dopamine in my head. And So one day in my springtime, for the first and the only time in my college life, I stay up until 3 a.m. to finish a late assignment. And the assignment wasn't done. I was working with a lab partner, and I was just so exhausted. I told him, screw all this, I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna sleep. And I did. And the next morning, I barely woke up. I walked to my 9 a.m. class, a math class, like a zombie, and I remember sitting in the front row, staring at the blackboard, and just totally zoned out, exhausted. And I started to cry. I don't know what, but I remember I wrote down in my blank notebook, and it was wet with tears. And what the hell was I doing in my life? Why did I make it so hard? And it wasn't just about the all-nighter thing. I think it's also I'm just so fed up with this whole managing myself, managing my time thing. It was at that moment, I just did the unthinkable. I pulled out my phone and I deleted the apps. I also deleted all the data that I've got, and these that I would have cried losing them. I deleted all of them, and that moment just felt like liberation. It felt like I have built my own prison. I have faithfully imprisoned myself in this thing, and then finally I broke free, and it was amazing. The first few days after that, I felt like I was still rehabilitating myself to the normal clock time. We were how many minutes I have left, things like that. But I think I've learned a really profound lesson. I was very productive, and I'm hopefully still productive. But I've learned the whole thing made me question my whole notion of time. You think, you hear everyone say it about, you have to make the most out of your time, and I'm like, what does that even mean? Where do you make the most out of time? And it just goes to show how we just deeply believe in the idea that time is the most scarce resource, and that we are all individual capitalists trying to make the highest return on time investment, right? And I don't know whether that's true anymore. After my experience, I just thought that this whole greedy for time, maybe it just mask my own fear of just having a meaningless life. And I don't know if any of you are or will be facing that existential questions, but I have learned from my prison breaking experience that maybe productivity is important, but it's not everything. I still ask myself, how do I make the most out of time? But I also ask the different questions. Have I really lived today? Thank you for your time.